Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
There's a powerful story being shared at All My Relations Arts in Minneapolis. Unchi Said So. A solo exhibition by Danielle Seawalker brings forward Native stories shaped by collective identity, generational knowledge, and teachings passed down through community. Through bold color and portraiture, this work honors the significance of grandmothers in Native culture while reflecting the idea that sovereignty begins at home. On view now through June 6th. Plan your visit today at allmyrelationsarts.org.
After 20 years of service, the Metro Blue Line is ready for essential improvements. A multi-year transformation is underway, bringing a better, smoother Blue Line experience. Renew the Blue will preserve and protect a critical piece of our infrastructure investment, helping it remain a safe, reliable, and affordable transit option for many years to come. Learn more about Renew the Blue at metrotransit.org/renew-the-blue.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Local artist Rosie Simas, Seneca Nation of Indians, Huron Clan, embodies Onondaga philosophies of peacemaking and relationality in new immersive installation. Visit Agajengwa, Destiny Gowe Weni. I hope it'll stir your mind and explore a space built for communal rest and contemplation. CMOS presents a performance of the same name this May. Learn more about the exhibition and performance at walkerart.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, clear with a low of 49, then Thursday, sunshine with a high of 77. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has the best roast beef sandwiches in the Twin Cities, but don't miss out on the chicken, fish, brisket, Philly steak, and more. Maverick's is located in Roseville on Lexington Avenue, 1 mile south of Highway 36. Visit mavericksbeef.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more regressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Hey, on today's show, we're going to have a little moments count, and we're going to welcome Nicholas DeShaw, educator, former physical education teacher, author, and aspiring Ojibwe language speaker, bringing important insight on early childhood and community connections. Also, we're going to have joining us later in the show, Francesca Hung, a second-generation Wisconsinite chef and state representative from Madison, and who's made history as the first Asian-American member of Wisconsin legislature and is now running for governor. And I just want to really excited about that, but we're also really excited. This episode of Native Roots Radio is presented in partnership with Minneapolis Public Radio and Little Moments Count. Little Moments Count is a statewide collaboration focused on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of life. You know, and I just want to bring our guest on right now, and I just say for more information, you can visit littlemomentscount.org. Hey, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself in a good way.
Chimigwach Robert. Abojo Ginoa. Nin sabemba tumish Jim in the go, McGiz into dame, Sabiko days a guy ning went to power and Danoe Magadag. But you go, me got you went on GPS, I am on my nom gum. Okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Nicholas DeShaw. Been about two Mishtadim. I'm Boyce Ford Ojibwe descendant, and from Net Lake. That's where my family comes from, and very thankful and excited to be here today.
Right on. I'm excited to have you too. I've been looking at your, I guess your bio, and it's really exciting to talk about all these things. I'm a former high school teacher, and we are having our second round of kids in the sense of we have our grandchildren who are going to be 20 months old
Oh,
here
wow.
very soon. So yeah,
Beautiful.
it is. It really is. And you know, you've spent many years in education, also as a father. How do you see reading impact a child's sense of identity and confidence?
Yeah, I think reading is just huge. Like, it really helps children to think abstractly, but when they're pre-literate, when we're working with our littles, like your small grandchildren, reading to them is such an important way that they connect to parents. It allows them to hear their parents' voices. It allows them to hear that rhythm, and it brings parents close to them too. They get to have uh, an experience together. A lot of times children see their parents just doing things and they're kind of, it's just happening to them. But reading is a time when they're doing something together and it's happening to both of them at the same time. They're participating together. So reading for the children, even young children, even children who can't talk really yet, is just really, really valuable and so important. So I've been reading to my children since they were pre-verbal. One of them still is, and I really value that. And it's some of some of the most special times we've had is in our story times together. And make sure to make that a daily part of what we do.
Yeah, that's totally awesome. Hey, your book, Loaf, the Cat Goes to a Powwow, centers around indigenous culture and joyful, everyday way. Talk a little bit about that and talk about why you wrote this book.
Yeah, so I'm really glad you're asking me that. That was a huge motivation for me. Um, the joyful centering of Native culture. A lot of times what I saw in my years of teaching was when it would come to subject matter related to Native people, it usually was set in the past. And that just bothered me because we're here today. We're doing very important things in our communities, and we're important contributors to the places where we live. So I wanted to have a story that was approachable, that would be a little sampling of a small part of contemporary Native cultures. And I thought, well, what better than powwow? It's such a big part of Native cultural expressions today. But I also thought that would be a good way to introduce contemporary Native cultures because it's a very accessible cultural expression for non-Native people. So in the story, we follow our main character, who's a cat named Loaf, and we're seeing kind of her learn about what powwow is and how it works. And at the same time, her little boy is dancing for the first time. He's going to be a grass dancer. So we're all seeing from his perspective something he's familiar with, but now is old enough to participate in. So the idea was that a non-Native student or child could learn about Native culture, but a Native student or child could see themselves also in this story. So wanting to find a way that could bridge multiple perspectives, but in a way that's cute and fun and really approachable for anyone of any age.
Wow. Who did the artwork? Or is it a kind of a kid's book?
Yeah, the artwork was done by Tara Audibert, who's a really talented Indigenous illustrator of Canada. She also did the Jojo McCoon's book series, which are also another favorite in my home. But yeah, she's an incredibly talented illustrator. I was really grateful that she signed on to do this project. The way she brought things together was just so beautiful, so much better than I would have come up with. So I was glad with how she was able to bring Loaf to life.
Loaf to life. Hey, where can people get this book?
Yeah, so this book's available kind of wherever books are sold, but you can get it on Penguin Random House's website. You can order it just on Amazon even if you want. But one thing I always try to plug is our local bookstores, and I really like to plug Birch Bark Books. I've partnered with them a few times, so definitely head over to Birch Bark Books, get a copy over there.
Awesome. Hey, so, many indigenous communities have experienced, generations of culture and language erasure. How does storytelling really, especially for children, play a role in reclaiming who we are in our own history?
Yeah, storytelling. I mean, I think any native person will tell you is like one of the just foundational parts of indigenous cultures. We tell stories, and we tell traditional stories. We tell modern stories. And we gossip sometimes even. But if we're looking at the traditional storytelling art form, um, it's so critical because it gives us a view into another world. Sometimes a supernatural world, sometimes a historical world, but it allows us to understand values that we have always had in our communities as well. And one thing I love about the way those values are taught is through trickster stories, and that a lot of times we see those values communicated in ways of like someone not living them and doing the exact opposite of what you should do,
Mhm.
and having consequences for that. So I think for children, that's just a great way of like remembering those values, but also in a fun and sometimes funny way that's going to stick with you. Stories stick with you better than just like axioms or something. Like if I were to say like it's important to maintain a clean house, like that doesn't mean anything to a kid. But if you tell a story of someone who doesn't clean up the room and then can't find something and then everything is all stinky all the time, that becomes really funny and fun. And then they can remember, oh yeah, hey, maybe I don't want that. Maybe that's why this is important to do in my own home. So those stories are just so critical of teaching a lot of who we are, expressing our values, and giving an important snapshot into all aspects or all parts of our history as well.
Yeah, exactly. I believe sometimes, with our stories, especially like whistling at night and bringing in, the
Hmm.
spirits. I don't do that. We don't we don't want our children or our grandchildren to do that. But I kind of wonder too, is that a story given so people would not be captured at night by bad people, and so
Yeah.
there's always stories that have something to do with something.
It's funny you bring up the whistling at night. That's something I taught my son from the time he could talk. And sometimes, like, I just absentmindedly whistle when I'm just doing something, and he's like, "Daddy, it's dark. Stop whistling." And I'm like, "Oh, you're right, buddy. Sorry, my bad. I just wasn't thinking."
That's right. Hey, this is the Little Moments Count Show, and we are here with Nicholas DeShaw, and we're going to take a quick break. This is Native Roots Radio.
Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas offers an affordable 2-year associate degree with a seamless path to a bachelor's. Located in downtown Minneapolis, students receive free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaching, tutoring, a Metro Transit pass, mentorship, and paid internships, all at Minnesota's largest private college. Ready to turn dreams into reality? Apply now at dfc.stthomas.edu. Doherty Family College. Your journey to success starts here.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center, an art space that's more than the spoon and cherry. Galleries celebrate contemporary visual art, including indigenous artists like Edgar Heap of Birds from the Cheyenne and Arapaho nations, and Jim Deminy from the Ojibwe Nation. Additionally, film screens, cinema, and performances are shown on stage. And the Walker is free every Thursday night and free every day for citizens and members of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
There's a powerful story being shared at All My Relations Arts in Minneapolis. Unchi Said So, a solo exhibition by Danielle Seawalker, brings forward Native stories shaped by collective identity, generational knowledge, and teachings passed down through community. Through bold color and portraiture, this work honors the significance of grandmothers in Native culture while reflecting the idea that sovereignty begins at home. On view now through June 6th. Plan your visit today at allmyrelationsarts.org.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and I want to be your next United States Senator, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Robert Pilot and Native Roots Radio, and this is a show we're sponsored by Little Moments Count, and we're welcoming Nicholas DeShaw here, educator, former physical education teacher, author, and aspiring Ojibwe language speaker. And that's one of the things I kind of wanted to touch base with too on you. I know, really happy being, a baby elder here at 64 years old, almost 65, that, I've seen the last couple generations really jump back into the language and in our ways. And so it's been really, really inspiring to see. And, it's inspiring. You're an aspiring Ojibwe speaker. Can you talk about the importance of language for your children and what happens when kids are able to hear their own language and really, their brains really working a lot if they're doing two languages at once at such a young age?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, bringing multiple languages into a home is always a good thing. And it's just been proven over and over again to be positive for children's development and just their mental abilities. For me, it was really critical because I didn't know that there was an Ojibwe language until I was 15. We always talk about we'd say Chippewa back then, back in the 90s. But that was something we knew about, but no one in my family really mentioned the language. And I discovered it through a high school social studies project, and that just completely changed my world. And so I moved here to Minnesota from Michigan, where I grew up, to try to learn the language as best I could, and went to school for American Indian Studies, emphasized in Ojibwe language, did a lot of immersion work, and just really tried my best to get as good at the language as I could. And so when it came time for me to be a father, I was like, okay, my children now are going to have a lot more opportunity than I had for language. They're going to know not only there is an Ojibwe language, but they're going to be hearing it in the home every day. And so I use Ojibwe with them every single day. And I'm certainly still learning. There's a lot more I would really love to be able to do. But just earlier today, I said to my son, "Oh, Misha Shinka Babagi Wayan." And he's like, "Oh, here you go." I said, give me your shirt quick. And he knew exactly what I was saying. And that really just is so edifying as a parent and as someone who, I'm coming from a family who, I think like a lot of Native families, we were separated from that part of our culture, from that part of who we were. And now it's a normal thing for my children. So that's just really powerful. And I've seen it really develop in my son as a very, in him having a lot of confidence in who he is. He's very sure of himself as Anishinaabe, as an Ojibwe person. And I want him to always feel that throughout his life. I don't want that to ever be a question for him. So I think language is just such a powerful, powerful piece of that, powerful piece of our culture, our identity, and just how we can move through the world. And for children, as they grow and develop their own skills and ability to communicate, multiple languages are just always a good thing. It's always a positive thing to include in their lives.
Yeah, definitely. We always wonder, and I'm going to ask you, the long-term impacts when children grow up without seeing themselves reflected in stories, TV, or education for that matter. And I know as a former teacher, we really had to dig deep to find any kind of history, real history out there about our people here in the United States and Minnesota, all over Turtle Island.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I even encountered that. It's very much still a problem in teaching. I stepped out of the classroom only 3 years ago. And in that time, in the school I was in, I had to ask teachers consistently, hey, what are you doing for your Indigenous content? because now it's a state standard. So do you have things you're using? What are your resources? Do you need help finding them? Many of them I talked to either didn't have any, didn't know where to look for any, or were completely dismissive of the subject matter, even as an important part of the education for the students there. And it turned out that the school I was in had an entire library full of books like fiction and nonfiction, history, contemporary stories, all by Native authors or having some Native subject matter. And it was just really disheartening that we had this great resource in a school and so few of the teachers there even knew anything about it. So it's really, I mean, it's such a big part of building up a person. Like, I don't even want to say a child, but a person, is showing them people like them, allowing them to feel confident and like, hey, look, oh, I see myself here. And seeing yourself in situations allows you to imagine things for yourself. It allows you to see like, oh, if I'm seeing this character or this person in this role, even if it's fictional, I can imagine myself there. That's something that's open to me. And if you never do, and if you're told constantly, oh, these are people who are different than you, and they're the ones who are doing, you know, X, Y, and Z. They're the ones who are becoming elected officials, becoming super successful business people, becoming professional athletes, you know, all these high level things that people aspire to. That really builds in a person a lack of confidence, and like, so maybe that's something that I just can't do. I'm just not someone who's able to do that. So that's a big reason I'm such a believer in the importance of representation. We need to have so much more media showing people of color, and specifically for Native people, showing Native people. And I think being as specific as possible, I try to, in my works, if I have Native character, or when I have Native characters, because everything I write has Native characters in it, I'm very specific with like, this person is Ojibwe, or this person is Ho-Chunk or Dakota, or they're mixed between, you know, Ponca and Dakota or something like that. Because I want it to be like, you're not just, oh, this is a Native person. It's like, we are diverse and we are unique, and we need to celebrate that. And so I want people to be able to see themselves in all of our complexity and all of our beauty that we have as peoples.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you've worked in Indian education in emergent settings. You know, what are some of the most powerful moments you've witnessed with when kids engage in their culture through storytelling and language? Give us some examples and some powerful moments.
Boy, you know, one thing that comes to mind actually is from the COVID lockdown. There was a lot of online language tables happening at the time, and some of them have continued, which is really cool. But the one I was part of, at one point we had a family coming on, and I wish I could think of their names, but they were committed very strongly to raising their child Ojibwe first, Ojibwe Moeneta, only Ojibwe, just completely immersed. And this little boy was on the call with us on the Zoom call, and he couldn't have been more than, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years old. And we were speaking to him only in Ojibwe, and he was responding completely in Ojibwe, which was so amazing and impressive to see. And it was just cutesy stuff, like, it's like, oh, wishko bukwajiganans. It's like, oh, did you have some cookies today? It's like, oh, get never went on go wishko bukwajiganans. It's like, oh yeah, I really like to eat cookies. Like, you know, it's just silly kid stuff like that. So just having those like normal kid conversations, but keeping them in Ojibwe was such a powerful moment. I got to be a substitute teacher in the Masabe Kong immersion school in Duluth for a while. And just stepping into that classroom and hearing Ojibwe every day, and the children talking to each other in Ojibwe. And it was, you know, sometimes the children come in and they're still English dominant, you know, they still use English sometimes, but that they know always that what you're saying to them in Ojibwe. And then they do start to, you kind of see them start to gradually pick up more and then use it with each other. That was always just a powerful thing to see, because children learn best the language of their peers. It's one thing to have their parents and their teachers teaching them, and that's hugely important. But if their peers are using the language, that's when you're really seeing language growth and development in them. So I got to see that a little bit there, and that was just beautiful. So I think we're going to see more and more of that as immersion schools and opportunities grow and develop. And it's just really exciting to watch.
That's awesome. You know, we only got a couple minutes here, but you know, we talk about games a lot here too, and talk about the importance of learning And, you know, along with the games that we play and the cultural activities that, you know, help our kids, you know, have their identity in meaningful ways.
Yeah, so I'll focus on lacrosse with this one because I grew up playing modern lacrosse as one of the very few connections I had to Ojibwe culture at the time. And then I shifted into our traditional form of the game. And I got to teach that when I was a PE teacher, and I had a number of Native students, and I really emphasized, you know, this game has such importance to Indigenous cultures from this area. And I had a student who was also from Bois Fort in there, and she really connected to it. And at one point, her skills grew so much that she was teaching the other students how to use a stick, how to throw a ball. And she would say to them, yeah, this is my culture. This is where we come from.
Mm.
And that was so powerful to me to see, like, she was connected to this. And I think one of the things that's powerful about our games, and especially something that's like a team sport like Bagadoewen or Chabna or Kafi Sop, I always forget the Dakota. Kapi's Topnik. I'm saying it wrong, I know. I'll think of it later, I'm sure. But it's ours. We love basketball, of course. Baseball can be a lot of fun. Football can be a lot of fun. But ultimately, these are things that were imposed on our communities. And this is something that's completely of our communities. And that does a lot for a student to be able to participate in something that's so foundational to a person as sport and game, and knowing this is of us. And that goes a long way for a person's well-being, good medicine, physical wellness, and personal identity.
Hey, we got just a few more seconds. How can people find out more about your book and learn more about your work?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at Nicholas_DeShaw. I'm also on TikTok at Mishtadim. I do language stuff, and I'll have a new website soon, nicholasdeshaw.com.
Wow, really interesting. Good talk. Really great work you're doing. I really appreciate you coming on Native Roots Radio.
Hey, Miigwech, Pinagigi, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you around the community, Robert.
Right on. Great. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio, and up next, we're going to have our friend Francesca Hung, second-generation Wisconsinite, running for governor of Wisconsin. We'll be right back. Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Did you know that the Walker has a cinema that shows film almost every week? From artist talks, genre-defined performances, and world premieres to archival shorts and experimental soundscapes, the Walker Cinema explores all modes of global and local filmmaking. Get your first tickets for free. Visit walkerart.org/cinema to learn more. That's walkerart.org/cinema. See you at the movies. Hey, it's Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio. For a meal that feeds your soul and health, check out Gatherings Cafe. Located in the renovated Minneapolis American Indian Center, Executive Chef Vernon Defoe and team serve up incredible indigenous flavors. Gatherings Cafe has amazing bison tacos featuring lean protein from native wise, corn tortillas, and homemade sides. It's fresh, local food rooted in ancestral knowledge. Stop by for breakfast or lunch. That's Gatherings Cafe, where tradition meets innovation.
Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas offers an affordable 2-year associate degree with a seamless path to a bachelor's. Located in downtown Minneapolis, students receive free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaching, tutoring, a Metro Transit pass, mentorship, and paid internships, all at Minnesota's largest private college. Ready to turn dreams into reality? Apply now at dfc.stthomas.edu. Doherty Family College. Your journey to success starts here.
This is Chase Iron Eyes announcing a new show on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, powered by Native Roots Radio. The show is called Native American Patriot Talk Radio. What will we do on the show? We are going to explore and dive into the source of American constitutional sovereignty, the intersection of Native American and legal issues. Find us the first and third Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. on AM 950.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Local artist Rosie Simas, Seneca Nation of Indians, Huron Clan, embodies Onondaga philosophies of peacemaking and relationality in new immersive installation. Visit Agajengwa, Desini Gowe Weni. I hope it'll stir your mind and explore a space built for communal rest and contemplation. Simas presents a performance of the same name this May. Learn more about the exhibition and performance at walkerart.org.
There's a powerful story being shared at All My Relations Arts in Minneapolis. Unchi Said So, a solo exhibition by Danielle Seawalker, brings forward Native stories shaped by collective identity, generational knowledge, and teachings passed down through community. Through bold color and portraiture, this work honors the significance of grandmothers in Native culture while reflecting the idea that sovereignty begins at home. On view now through June 6th. Plan your visit today at allmyrelationsarts.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, clear with a low of 49, then Thursday, sunshine with a high of 77. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has the best roast beef sandwiches in the Twin Cities, but don't miss out on the chicken, fish, brisket, Philly steak, and more. Maverick's is located in Roseville on Lexington Avenue, 1 mile south of Highway 36. Visit mavericksbeef.com. This is AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Robert Pilot, and we have a great guest here, Representative Hong, who's Francesca Hong is a second-generation Wisconsinite chef, state representative, like I said, from Madison, who made history as the first Asian-American member of the Wisconsin legislature. And I just want to say a big hello. I'm wondering, are you there, Representative?
I am here, Robert. How is it going? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you pretty good. How are you? Do you have your camera? Are you able to come on with your camera?
Unfortunately, I am not. I am currently trying to get my son to Taekwondo right now. Running behind today. But I'm really excited to be here, and I'm hands-free, so being safe.
Yeah, right on. Hey, let's talk about a couple things. I really, first of all, I want to just say I love Madison. I would probably live in Madison if I didn't have any two other addresses. I really do love Madison and how progressive it is. And matter of fact, I lived there when you could still drive on State Street, so that's how old I am.
State Street is still here, lively, and, you know, I'm very proud to be born and raised in Madison. My parents came here pretty, they weren't expected to stay, and now they've lived in Madison longer than anywhere else.
That's amazing. And, you know, you're a second-generation Wisconsinite, as you were saying, and then you made history as the first Asian American member in the Wisconsin legislature. That is huge. And I know here in Minnesota, where we broadcast out of, it's so important to have representation. And I know we have a lot of natives, not a lot, we have a few natives that are in the House and Senate here in Minnesota, but it's really made a difference. How do you feel about that? And do you find yourself you have to be teaching people your history and who you are all the time like we do as natives?
No, I think representation is a movement, and it really doesn't matter if you're the first, if you are the last. And while I enjoy storytelling, sharing, you know, a lot about the Korean culture that I am so proud of, I think what's been most rewarding is being so radically welcomed by the Hmong community. You know, we are your neighbors with a very influential and larger Hmong community. And so we're really looking to help elect our first Hmong state representative or state senator. And I get asked a lot where I'm from and about the background, and because you can't really hide that you're Asian, especially in Wisconsin. But it's been really an honor. I wish it didn't take till 2020 to elect representation.
Yeah, well, I live in St. Paul, and as you probably do know, is that we just elected our first Hmong mayor, woman mayor too, and then also our city council is all women. You know, so I mean, we're really progressive here in St. Paul.
Yes, and Mayor Cowley-Her actually has Wisconsin roots. She is from Appleton, Wisconsin, and I am very impressed by the work that your council is doing. It turns out when we have women in government leading who share our values, good things can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree 100%. And that's our way. And it's funny, I'm a delegate here for our Democratic Party here coming up. And I saw the mayor and I said, it's really interesting how Native Americans and Hmongs culture are so similar with clans, just a lot of the praying over our kill, our food and things like that. And she really perked up and agreed 100% with me. She goes, I'm really glad you said that. But that, and that's one of the things too, that as human beings, we really need to look at, how much we, are alike, and as opposed to what I feel like is happening nationally here, and especially federally, is how much we're not alike.
Yes, oftentimes the folks who are authoritarian, who want to control other people's lives, they don't want us to be united. They want us to forget that we have a shared humanity. And I'm really grateful that the Native folks and Hmong folks in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and across the country, the culture, the values, the leadership from them are helping us realize that when we are united, it's a way of resistance against the current forces in the authoritarian regime in DC right now.
Absolutely. And, we have a governor in Wisconsin who I've been blessed to meet many times when I was a legislator for Ho-Chunk Nation, and the support he has for Native Americans. And really excited to hear that you are running for governor too. And I'd like to talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
I'd be happy to talk about our campaign, and agree. Governor Evers has made tribal sovereignty and, more importantly, access to the executive priority, and that's absolutely what I plan to continue and strengthen if I become the first woman and Asian governor of Wisconsin.
That's totally excited. And I just got to remind you too, and I'm sure you know this, that we're tonight we are on civic media all across Wisconsin. So I always like to ask how people can support you and find out more about you. That's do you have a email or a Facebook or a website? Could you let our listening audience all over Turtle Island know how to get more information about you?
Absolutely. www.francescahong.com. We have a robust policy platform, our plans, and how we are going to build permanent affordability in our state and have a Wisconsin that belongs to everyone. And we're active on social media at Francesca Hong WI.
That's awesome. What I have here, a friend of mine really set this interview up, and I'm really appreciate this person about doing this. And one of the things the note that she sent me is that how much you understand about tribal sovereignty and indigenous rights and what's happening, to our relatives with the Bad River and Ambridge's Line 5 in Minnesota. We've dealt with that, and this radio show started because of Standing Rock 10 years ago. We're in our 10th year. And, with the pipelines going through sacred burial grounds, water aquifers, and all these things. And here we are again here in Wisconsin, dealing with a foreign company that is making law and having old pipelines. And we all know pipelines leak. That's one thing we do know about pipelines.
It's terrifying knowing that our communities are all at risk of big oil and massive corporations who put our planet and people behind and prioritize profits and the wealthiest. It is the tribal communities who should be leading in this fight for climate justice, because for generations, hundreds of years, it's been Native people who know how to take care of the land and protect the earth. The fight against Lawn 5 and being inspired by the line by the water protectors, it's what I wish more people would understand is that if we do not support and listen to and fight with alongside our tribes to make sure that we're all fighting for tribal sovereignty, it's what's going to make all of our communities safer, more united, connected, and a deep understanding of our shared humanity. I think it's critical, especially when it comes to protecting the planet, which feels more and more broken, that we are fighting against big oil, big tech in solidarity and in unity.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the notes here I have about you is you started out as a dishwasher, and I did too, many, many years ago. And I, the restaurant business stresses me out still. My daughter's in it still. And, but that was a great job to start with and kind of get to know about hard work and things like that. Talk about that a little bit, because you became a chef, and that's so cool.
I'm so proud to be a service industry worker. I've been working in restaurants since I was 15 years old, and actually ended up leaving UW-Madison. I'm the only college dropout in our family right now to pursue becoming a chef. And it's been working in restaurants that has taught me the power of bringing people together and making sure that there are more people at the table and that we share the table. It's where I learned that leadership is really, the strong leadership means that you're fostering leaders in other people, you're fostering leadership from your team. And the work ethic, I remind folks that you never forget, bailing out, going into cleaning out the grease trap with 5-gallon buckets, and the importance of working as a team and knowing that it's critical that we see everyone for and value their work. And I always said that the dishwasher is one of the most important, if not the most important, in the position of a restaurant. But when I said that and praised our former dishwasher at my restaurant, he said that's flattering, but everyone's job is important in a restaurant. And I think it really speaks to how you learn about respect. You see kind of the best and worst in people, but ultimately this is about knowing there are spaces that are devoted to nourishment and fostering community as well as leadership. It's my experience in the service industry that's helped me be a better legislator. To know that I really am not better than anyone else, and respecting and seeing folks as equals. It helps bring some humility into the work of being a politician.
One more time, we got 5 seconds. How can people find out more about you?
FrancescaHong.com and on socials at FrancescaHongWI.
Big Peeny Gigi, we got to have you on again a little longer. Really appreciate you stopping in Native Roots Radio.
Happy to come back anytime, Robert. Thanks so much for having me.
Right on. Hey, we'll be right back. This is Native Roots Radio.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis Air dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis Air on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Aho, this is Robert Pilot. For Native relatives, healing is more than just sobriety. It's reclaiming Indigenous masculinity as a sacred, balanced force. Join Hunter Thundercloud for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. We explore how personal recovery uplifts our communities. It's time men step back into roles as mentors and spiritual leaders. Recovery is collective, and it starts with us. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. Let's tend the fire together.
Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas offers an affordable 2-year associate degree with a seamless path to a bachelor's. Located in downtown Minneapolis, students receive free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaching, tutoring, a Metro Transit pass, mentorship, and paid internships, all at Minnesota's largest private college. Ready to turn dreams into reality? Apply now at dfc.stthomas.edu. Doherty Family College. Your journey to success starts here.
After 20 years of service, the Metro Blue Line is ready for essential improvements. A multi-year transformation is underway, bringing a better, smoother Blue Line experience. Renew the Blue will preserve and protect a critical piece of our infrastructure investment, helping it remain a safe, reliable, and affordable transit option for many years to come. Learn more about Renew the Blue at metrotransit.org/renew-the-blue.
Hi, it's Dr. Evan Adams, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. Hey, Victor, you better be listening.
In this portion of the show, we'd like to bring awareness to our wolf and bear populations throughout Turtle Island. Say no to the hunts.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Native Roots Radio, and I give a quick shout out to my wife, Wendy. Wendy's going to be heading out there and, doing her thing for our sacred animals, and I just want to give her a big shout out. Also, too, this is the last segment. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to throw out the number there, 952-946-6205. That's 952-946. Wait a minute, 952-946-6205. I have that by heart. Hey, I want to talk a little sports with our friend Patrick, who's back at the mother station there, AM 950, and I just the Twins lost today, Patrick, and kind of surprised how well they're playing. Also, I don't know what are your thoughts. I always tell people hitting will win you games, but pitching will win you World Series, and surprisingly, they've been hitting recently.
Yeah, and you mentioned the pitching will take you further than the hitting, and I think the starting pitching's actually been, for the most part, really good. It wasn't very good today, but the last couple of games have been absolutely fantastic. I was at the game last night with Mick Abel started. He struck out 10 in 7 innings, and the Red Sox have kind of been off to a slow start, so it's good the Twins got 2 out of 3 against them. They had a 4-game winning streak overall that came to an end today. It wasn't a very competitive game, as we mentioned, but yeah, they're hitting, they're pitching well for the most part. Bullpen's a little suspect at times, but coming into the day, they had the best record in the American League, and I don't think anybody thought that was going to happen at any point this season, Robert.
No doubt, Patrick. And I was at the opener, and it's interesting when you say people are not thinking about that. There's such a downer on the owners of the Twins right now, and I'm having deja vu because I went through Calvin Griffith, and he started out having the highest payroll, and then when free agency came, he had no backup business, so he was cheap and getting rid of people all the time. He got rid of Carew, he got rid of Blyleven during their prime of their careers. Harmon Killebrew did not finish his career in Minnesota. So I'm having a little deja vu, and I just enjoy the game and watching the game. And, I think people are taking things a little seriously, I guess, more seriously than I am. I just want to see a well pitched game and I want to see the Twins win, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of funny you mention that because the way the fan base has responded, you think they'd maybe won one game, if any, by this point in the season. But I think, as you were kind of hinting at, a lot of that's come to do with just the ownership has built up such a bad will over the last, as long as I can remember. Going back to Carl, and then you kind of had Jim and Joe after Carl died, and then Tom stepping into the primary owner role for this season. And there was a little incident that apparently happened at Target Field where he got into it with a fan. I think it was last weekend, and I didn't see the video of it yet, but that's kind of where we're at. That he's come out and he said a lot of the right things, I think, but it's too early to see if things are really have changed for the better. And, that's kind of tough. I'm sure he's probably thinking, well, what more do you want me to do? And, as a first time owner, probably he doesn't understand. There are just going to be people who are never going to be happy. But for him, especially, there's just so much bad will. It's going to take time to turn that around.
Yeah, really good point. Hey, the time flies right now. I just want to mention a couple other things, Patrick. One is, Jackie Robinson's wife is still alive, and she's 103 years old. Did you know that?
I think if you mention that now, I remember it, but one of the things I don't really think about on a daily basis, unfortunately.
Also too, Yahoo Sports is talking about a thing that happened at Target Field with the Twins and the Red Sox, and outfielder Jaron Duran. Did you hear about that? Claimed Tuesday that a heckling fan told him to unalive himself after he grounded out, and he gave him the finger. Did you hear anything about that?
Yeah, I've seen the news articles about that. I wanted to get more information before I, made a judgment. Was this a Twins fan? Was this an annoyed Red Sox fan who, because that would have been that side of the field where the Red Sox fans are probably sitting on, on top of their dugout. And, but it sounded like it was a Twins fan and just absolutely unacceptable. And there's no place to say anything like that for anybody, anywhere, for any reason. And I hope he's dealt with appropriately.
Yeah, good call on that. One of the things too, I only get excited now because I really believe basketball and hockey, it's 2 seasons. And now we're getting into the real season, and where I start paying attention, we got the Timberwolves. What's your feeling on them, and how far are they going to go? And is Ant going to stay healthy, or is he healthy?
I think he's good to go, and I think it's actually going to be McDaniels, who just came back from an injury, because he's kind of the star defender on the Timberwolves. So I think it's going to kind of come down to more how well he does in the playoffs than Edwards. Obviously, you need Edwards to have a big series. But my thing with the Wolves, and I know a lot of people feel this way, is you just never know who's going to show up. Are they going to take the game seriously? They kind of have this attitude of, what will, come to play when, it's the big moment. But, that's not something you can just turn on. And, you're taking on a Denver team who's, lost to you a couple of times in the playoffs of the last few years. They're going to take you very seriously. Are you going to take them as seriously as they're going to take you?
Yeah, absolutely. And the Wild won 3-2, and yesterday, I do believe, and that's good news. And that's a thing too. People really, really pan and really miss the North Stars, but I don't think the North Stars. They had a couple good runs in all the years they were here, but I think people have like rose-colored glasses when they think about the North Stars. And geez, the Wild have not really budged away and done a run like the North Stars, I should say. So I'm kind of contradicting myself, but what's your feeling on the Wild this year?
I think some of it's bad luck, because the way the NHL playoff format is set up, they're going to have to play a couple of really tough series right off the bat. They have to get through the Dallas Stars first, and I think that's going to be a very long series. That's probably going to go 6 or 7 games, but I kind of think you keep talking about the people think about the North Stars, and the Wild haven't really had a deep playoff run since about almost 25 years ago. Was the only time they really went deep into the playoffs, and that was kind of a miracle team that made that run to the Western Conference Finals back in 2003. I mean, they've got the firepower to go deep into the playoffs. I think the problem is going to be, it's going to be tough to beat Dallas, but then they're going to have to take on Colorado, I think, after that, if they get through Dallas, because Colorado, they're the best team in the Western Conference. That's going to be a very tough ride getting through just one of those teams, much less two. And there's been a lot of criticism of the NHL playoff format, because it used to be, they just made it, it was the one team through the eighth team, and the went from there, but then they kind of juggled it to be a little more convoluted than that. So now you've got a bunch of weaker teams out in the West that are going to have a little bit of an easier path to get through, but then you've kind of got the Wild and the Stars and the Avalanche who are going to kind of eat each other up.
Yeah. Hey, we only got a few more seconds here, Patrick. I just want to give a shout out to the Brewers. They're 8-8, and good luck to the Bucks. We'll talk more about that when we get some time. But thanks, Patrick, for stopping in and talking some sports. We love to talk sports with Solar Bear and the Solar News, but I appreciate you stepping in and talking a little sports with us. Also, I want to give a quick shout out. Thanks for Francesca Hung, representative out of Wisconsin, running for governor, and Nicholas DeShaw. This has been Native Roots Radio. We'll see you tomorrow.
Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas offers an affordable 2-year associate degree with a seamless path to a bachelor's.